Welcome to the Power of Integrity podcast. I'm Ralph Adamo, your host, and today I'm delighted to have Brian Kovack, co-founder and CEO of Kovack Financial Network. In full disclosure, Kovack is my broker-dealer and my registered investment advisory arm that I work under and work with and through and for. It's a real delight to have Brian on with us. And Brian, love for you to tell our audience a little bit about your path and journey, not just at Kovack, but maybe prior to Kovack, and anything else that's relevant and important about your journey up to today, and then share a little bit about what you're doing today.
Yeah. Well, thanks. First, Ralph, thank you for having me on board here. It's my pleasure. You and I have known each other quite a while now, so it's been something that's been on my to-do list, and it's been a great opportunity to join the show. So, yeah, again, I'm Brian Kovack. I am the co-founder, CEO of Kovack Financial. Kovack Financial is a national organization. It's a securities broker-dealer and registered investment advisor. We're based in Fort Lauderdale, and we have approximately 400 advisors throughout the U.S., managing about 80,000 customers with $15 billion under management, $15 billion of assets under management. So we're a 27-year-old organization that I started with my dad. We are in the independent space, which is kind of an unusual space that a lot of people are not familiar with versus a wirehouse such as Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley. All the advisors, the 400 or so throughout the U.S. that we service, including yourself, are independent, meaning that they're free to provide financial advice to their clients without any mandates or requirements to sell proprietary product. A lot of the large wirehouses require advisors that work there to sell their products, their mutual funds or their investment vehicles, which they inherently have a conflict of interest because they double dip, they make extra money. So in our model and what we support, and particularly with your practice and the others, you're free to choose any investment vehicle you'd like. So that's the independent space. That's what we've been doing 27 years. And we're having a lot of fun and growing very, very fast.
Yeah, and I'll note that you have been public about remaining a family-owned business and continue to be a family-owned and operated organization.
Yeah, I started as a securities lawyer. I'm a 25-year licensed attorney. My dad was 30 years in the business at Merrill Lynch, 20 and 10 at Prudential Securities, and we teamed up together and really had this great opportunity to be a father-son business. We started very small from scratch. We had in 1997 no employees, no desks, no computers, and we've been really fortunate to slow and steady, very conservative, to grow, and we're now the 25th largest firm in the United States in the independent broker-dealer space. So along that journey, we've have approximately 85 or so employees in the back office that service you and others as advisors. And so that those relationships, those staff that have helped grow this firm over so many years mean so much. And particularly 15, 20-year employees, it's a relationship you have with people. So that relationship is very special. And then along the way, advisors that have been with the company 15, 20 years plus, you really have a bond and a real connection in a deep fashion that we really enjoy it. And we have a lot of time on the clock, and we're going to be sticking around for a long time.
Yes. Now, you mentioned about the independence, essentially the open architecture that the advisor has in terms of latitude to deliver the right solution sets, the right services, the right particular products for clients, and not have a conflict of interest. That seems to be a great place to start with the whole topic of integrity and being able to deliver what we're doing with integrity. And so my classic question to our guest is, what does integrity mean to you?
Yeah, it's very simply boiling down, doing the right thing. Well, what does that mean? It's treating people the way you'd want to be treated. It's doing the right thing when even nobody's looking at what you're doing. And it's very simple, a very simple thing. There's a lot of descriptions of it, but I think doing the right thing and doing it as if it were being done to you. I always give the example when an advisor or somebody has a investment strategy. Would I want this investment strategy being presented to my mom or my grandmother? How do I feel about my family looking at recommendations to invest their life savings? Are we doing the right thing? And would I want it presented to my family?
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that, where integrity has an impact is with our own employees. And I'm wondering, what's your assessment and sense of how integrity impacts the productivity of employees, the loyalty of employees? What's your sense there and how you've been going about that?
Yeah, so it starts with the top, right? Integrity starts with leadership. We have an executive team here. Of course, I'm the CEO, but having integrity is a role model and moves its way downstream. Staff, when they see that the senior leadership, the senior management cares about other people, treats them the way they'd want to be treated, and does the right thing, again, even when nobody's looking and paying attention, it translates downstream. And those folks look at that leadership and want to emulate it. They want to copy it. They want to duplicate it, and they act in that certain fashion. Now, listen, you're always going to have individuals who are, not the right fit or a bad apple. Our mission is, like any organization, is to distance ourselves as soon as possible from that conduct that's not representing the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you think about it, integrity playing a role, and I would always say with customers and clients, and in this instance, the advisors are your first line of clients, and ultimately the consumers are that second line. How do you feel integrity makes an impact when it comes to the clients of the firm, as you see the clients, first generation advisor, second generation consumer?
Yeah. So I think the integrity component really moves as an organization to support the advisors in what they're doing. And so one of the ways that integrity applies specifically, for example, would be oversight of the actions or inactions that a financial advisor is employing with their clients. Um, Everything, and I mean everything that's done by the advisors runs through the home office, runs through us for a second set of eyes. Are we making the right recommendations? Again, would I do the same thing if it's my mom? Are we putting the client in an equal or better off position? So, this compliance oversight is really integrity, and it's doing the right thing, not looking at short term gains with compensation, looking at the long term, building that relationship, because I truly believe it's about the long term. Short term, sure, people can stand to benefit, but long term, they don't. If you take a long term approach at what activities are being conducted, then it always works its way out, and it has for us for coming up on almost 30 years.
Yeah. And well, I don't know if you echoed it yet. I'm sure it's implied and inferred. The role of transparency, how what it plays in your business.
Yeah. So again, the independent space is the ideal or the optimal example of transparency. We're legal terminology. We're known as a fully disclosed, introducing broker dealer and registered investment advisor. That is, we introduce client accounts to custodians, and so introduce meanings we pass the paperwork on to custodians such as Fidelity or Pershing, Banking New York Mellon, and others. And in that process, we act as a fiduciary. And what is a fiduciary? A fiduciary is putting someone else's interest ahead of our own. So transparency, acting as a fiduciary under federal law, under state law, and doing the right thing for the customer is first and foremost for us.
Yeah, critical, absolutely important. Can you discuss a key decision or decisions you made where you were guided by your commitment to integrity?
Yeah, I have one really, looking back, great moment that stands out above all the other moments. And it revolves around the Fed and interest rates. Where there was a period of time in the early 2000s when rates were high and they were coming down. They were dropping, and we had one particular institutional business mix. They were basically collateralized mortgage obligations, which is basically mortgages, a pool of mortgages. Think of a mutual fund instead of stocks in a fund. A CMO or collateralized mortgage obligation is a pool of mortgages. Mortgages, the bank originates a mortgage, lends you the money, takes that piece of paper or that note or that mortgage, and immediately sells it. And the buyer of those really puts a package together. And we've seen The Big Short. There's many movies that's been out on this exact scenario, and of course that whole market collapsed, and we kind of had a feeling it was going to collapse. So one of the toughest decisions we made was to go out and to send letters to every customer who owned those positions. It was probably 6 months to a year before that whole business segment imploded, and we let them know we believe it's the right time to get out. You can do whatever you want. We're independent. It's your choice. But based on these metrics, based on the Fed dropping rates, we're seeing that this is a good time to sell. And we saved, it was very difficult because it had a significant, greater than 50% impact on revenue to the organization at the time. And it was hard, it was very tough. But at the end of the day, we put the client's interests first. We inform them. Again, they're free to choose what they would like to do, either sell those positions or maintain those in their accounts. But that was a tough one, and we did it. And honestly, I looking back, again, short term, it definitely had an impact, but long term, boy, it was such a right call, right decision, and I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's tough to make that decision that impacts our wallet or our pocketbook and purse
That's right.
um, in the short run, but in the long run, doing the right thing for the client for sure.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and you've touched on some of this before, but what would you say when integrity it translates into how does it translate into benefiting the company itself? What are some of your thoughts there?
Yeah, so this touches on just my last response and comment on the long term goals, right? Short term, yes, there are shortcuts you can take. There are all kinds of shortcuts in life that, yes, will provide short term benefits, but long term, they can be disastrous. And this same type of integrity is built around looking for the long term. I think a balance is great, but again, doing the right thing for the customer, right thing for the industry as a whole, which really is focused on two things: market integrity and consumer protection. Those are the chief ends of the Securities and Exchange Commission, FINRA, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, and every one of the state security regulators, all 50 of them. They have two missions: market integrity, make sure that the marketplace has integrity, that it's sound, that people know where their money is, that they know that they can have access to it, and then protect those consumers, consumer protection. Those are the chief end of kind of what we all do, is looking out for the consumer. So again, it's a long term, in my opinion. If you do the right thing and you're looking out for the consumer for the long term, it's so much better. It's so much more uh, integrity than a short term kind of greed approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian, I knew your father, Dr. Kovack. He passed away a few years ago, and he certainly embodied integrity. Would you? Where do you attribute to because your barometer is well fixed on integrity and has been ever since I've met you? Um, where you pick that up between your home, your schooling, your professional education? What are some of the influences that led to your commitment to integrity?
Well, yeah, my dad passed right before COVID, and at the age of 82, had a peaceful passing. Fortunately, it was before COVID, so I did have the opportunity to spend time with him. But being raised in a family that really was, I think, in part faith based, Protestant Christian faith based, that had values. You got to remember, my dad was born in 37, and so being raised by a blue collar cold worker at the Westinghouse in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So learning the value of hard work, learning the value of a dollar, having, in my opinion, for me, a faith based background and view of life. It really, those metrics, those parameters really impacted me. And so I was very blessed to have the opportunity to work with him for so many years.
Yes, and your father, Dr. Kovac, he wrote a book, and it was very faith based in its messaging. I think it was called "The Greatest Gift Ever." Correct?
It is, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you anything you can touch on that book. I love giving your father the credit because he was such a warm man and such a gracious man to me.
Yeah. So that book was one of the activities that my dad was involved with, not just starting and working this organization with me, was also charitable giving, giving back to a variety of religious and non religious organizations. And so, where does that giving derive from? How does that happen? And so, the book really touched on and dwelt on a lot of the principles of tithing. Again, I get back to this faith based Protestant approach to things. And tithing is such a critical component of his life and what he did. And the book primarily focuses on why you tithe and the benefits that are associated with it.
Yeah, and what a commitment to his integrity of tithing for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Well, and I'm completely off the cuff here because there's nothing rehearsed about this, but your father I loved for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. He's missed by a lot of people, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Brent, one of the things we have an audience. Some more and more are younger folks starting out in business in their professions and their companies. It's always to get someone like yourself who has a number of years of experience in business and a profession. What are some of the things when you reflect on that you would share with a younger group about what are some of the insights or tips you might give them as it relates to accelerating or making sure they run their roots deep when it comes to building their careers?
Yeah. So I think career building begins with, in my opinion, education. There's certainly Bitcoin and a lot of other avenues, social media that are new. And so I'm 51 years old. When I, at a younger age, was in high school, I finished up and went to the University of Florida with finance degree. Went after and graduated with a master's degree in accounting, a finance degree, of course, and then my Juris Doctorate, my law degree. Attended University of Pennsylvania at Wharton School for an advanced educational certification degree. So I'm a big believer in education. I know things have changed. The world is not what it was when I grew up, but I first and foremost believe in that education. I think at the essence of it, it gives you a head start. Yes, you can learn everything about law or accounting or finance or about whatever industry that you're involved with, but it takes time. It's trial and error. It's the lessons of hard knocks. Something bad happened, you made a decision on it, and guess what? You're not going to do it again. But gee, wouldn't it be great to kind of have avoided that scenario to begin with? Wouldn't it be great to not have to learn that hard lesson because you were able to, in advance, know not to do a course of action which really hurt? So I'm a big believer in education. I think second is really hard work. I think a lot of people, I think a lot of people want an easy path. Everybody does. I think that's human nature is to put time in, but only the amount of time needed. And so going that extra mile, whatever profession or whatever occupation you're involved with, really pushing yourself. And that means sacrifice. Nobody wants to sacrifice, in my opinion, nowadays. When I went to school or when I was younger, I played at the University of Florida for Steve Spurrier. I played football, varsity football there for 3 seasons, and it was sacrifice. I had no life between school and football. you have no life. But that discipline, that willingness to sacrifice, I believe is really so important to begin your career and your business. Not being able to go out every weekend, or not being able to get to bed till 10 p.m. and you're getting up at 6 a.m. It pays off. And so from there, I think, some other things, surrounding yourself with some really smart people who are also as focused as you are on growth. Regardless of the profession, there are a lot of people who are very talented, who are as hungry to grow as you may be, and surrounding yourself around the right people and not getting distracted with people who are going to drag you down or put bad ideas in your mind of how they should do it or how you should do it. I think those are the three big ones for me.
Yeah, critical. Education, and I know you had stated it somewhat in a formalized education, but continuing to grow and learn is critical. I think that's the message you're saying. Hard work and those you surround yourself with. And when you said hard work, it reminded me, when I go to the gym, there's a woman that wears a sweatshirt and it says, "Hard work beats talent every time, unless, of course, talent works hard."
Yep. Yep. That's right.
It's absolutely critical. Yeah, those three
Yeah.
takeaways are real.
Yeah, Ralph, and I talked about my education, but we're always learning. There's always a new industry or new topic. For instance, right now, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. This is a new topic, and so you can't just not be proactive and just be reactive to trends in crypto and opportunity. So yeah, learning it never ends. Is throughout this life, both in a formal fashion and informal, we always learn, and I think that's really important part of being successful.
Yeah, yeah, I have a couple sayings there. You're green, you keep growing. You're ripe, you start rotting.
That's
You
right.
know, for sure. The
That's right.
universe is expanding. We better keep expanding with it, is my opinion. Well, Brian, it's been a delight having this conversation with you. If any of our audience wants to get in touch with Kovack Financial, with Brian Kovack himself, what's the best way they do that? On social media, the website? Where should they go?
Yeah, social media. We have a large presence on LinkedIn. We also, of course, have URLs, websites, and so forth. But I would be here even giving out my personal email address. It's Brian at with an I at KFN. That's for Kovac Financial Network, KFN.com. So if you want to shoot me an email, I'm happy to respond to it. Certainly, we're on social media. And you'll find us out there. And thank you for having me on the show here, Ralph.
Absolutely, Brian. It was a delight. The time flew right by as I thought it would, and I really
Yeah,
appreciate everything you do
yeah,
for me every day, and the organization does for me every day.
yeah.
You stay well and stay safe, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Have a good rest of your day.
The information presented in this program is provided for informational purposes only. The information is believed to be reliable, but no guarantee of accuracy is made or implied. Expressions of opinions are as of this date and are subject to change without notice. The information in this material is not intended as tax or legal advice. Please consult a legal or tax professional for specific information regarding your individual situation. This information does not constitute a solicitation or an offer to buy or sell any security. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of capital. Ralph Adamo is registered with the securities and are offered through Kovac Securities Inc., member FINRA, SIPC, 6451 North Federal Highway, Suite 1201, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33308. Telephone number 954-782-4771. Investment advisory services are offered through Kovac Advisors Inc. Integrity Wealth Management is not affiliated with Kovac Securities Inc. or Kovac Advisors Inc.